name is Joel Hunt, and I'm a left below knee amputee, or an LBKA. This morning I'm going to show you how to don a prosthetic device and talk about the steps as I do it. You can see on my leg here that I'm wearing what we call a stump shrinker. It's a highly elastic sock that compresses the stump whenever I'm not wearing my prosthesis. What this does is it keeps fluid from pooling in my leg and keeps edema from causing me to swell up so much at night. So it's early in the morning and I'm getting ready to put my leg on for the day. The first thing that I'm going to do is just pull down my stump shrinker and check my stump. Everything looks good and I'm ready to get started. What I'm holding here in my hands is a silicone liner. It's got fabric on the outside and a socket on the end that has a serrated edged metal pin that engages the locking device that is inside the base of the carbon fiber socket of my prosthesis. This is the actual interface that keeps the leg from falling off as I walk. It's a lot better than the old school method where you used to have a belt around your waist with straps that went down and held the socket. That would cause a lot of what we call pistoning motion, where the socket would ride up and down on the stump. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take the liner and I'm going to unroll it wrong side out. Now you can see that the silicone is on the outside with the fabric on the inside, and the pin is no longer visible, it's pointing down. There is this cup-shaped end right here that is designed to fit the distal end or the far end of my stump, or residual limb as some people call it. So I kind of use my fingers here and I find where that pin is and hold the pin and I center it on the distal end of the stump, and then I simply slowly roll that liner up my leg. You may have to adjust your clothing to be able to get it done. And as you can see, if I was wearing pants, I would have to do this before I put the pant leg on. Since I'm wearing shorts right now, I can do it as is. Now, many amputees at this point would simply put on or don their prosthesis. I actually have to have some of what we call stump socks. They're these cool socks that I've got right here. And what we use these for is to control the amount of volume lost from muscle atrophy that is inside the socket. So they have socks that are differing thicknesses or plies. This is a 3-ply sock and it's got a reinforced hole right in the end that goes right around that metal serrated pin that I spoke of earlier. Now I already know that I wear 7-ply of socks, so I have 2 3-ply socks, and I've got this old worn ratty 1-ply sock that my wife thinks is very ugly looking. So this morning I've got a brand new 1-ply with a neat little knitted hole on it, and I'm going to lay these out. And I also have this leather pad that I put in because I've got a little bit of a bone spur forming on the end of my stump, and I can put this right here and it takes pressure and relieves the pressure that's right there on the bone. So first thing I'll do is I'll take the first 3-ply sock, bunch it up, stick the pin through. At this point I'll take that leather pad and I'll shove it down in. And I've done this lots of times, obviously, so I know exactly where it needs to go. Make sure it's all smooth. Pull this sock up. Now I'm going to pull on the second sock, making sure it's smooth and that there are no wrinkles. And lastly, the new 1-ply sock. This one is not nearly as stretchy as the 3-plies, but it's thicker than, say, women's tights. They're all made out of cotton. At this point, my limb is ready to go into the socket. Now, because I haven't worn the socket all night, there is some swelling even though I was wearing that stump shrinker, and it's going to look really tight when I put on the socket. And what is happening is I'm forcing some of the fluid up and out of my leg. But what I'm trying to do is take this metal pin, and inside of my socket there is a hole down in the distal end, and there's a little locking device. It's also got this little push button release. This is how I actually release the pressure. So I take the limb and center it in front of me, and then I simply stand up, place my limb in, and what I'm doing right now is I'm squeezing that fluid and I'm listening for a click. Once I have one click, I know that I've engaged the lock. At this point, I heard it ratchet in. I seated a couple more clicks, and now the limb is on. You could pull me or tow me around by this leg, and it's not going to come off. Now, I usually just leave my sock and shoe on my foot if I'm not needing to change my sock. It doesn't get smelly like the other one does. But I took it off so you can see that I've got a rubber foot shell, as they call it, a foot shell, that's shaped the same size as my other foot. And I put a sock on so it'll slide smoothly into a shoe. And it's easier to leave your shoes loosely laced, so you can just put them on. And at this point, I stand up and the foot's completely on. With this foot, I'm able to bounce on it. It's got a little spring compression right here that allows me to jump and bounce. I can actually plant, and the socket will turn above it, allowing the foot to remain planted. This is really useful for outdoor activities. And then the foot itself has kind of two little carbon fiber toes that they can lean or bend inside the foot, allowing me to do all sort of manner of outdoor activities and range of motion. So at this point, I'm ready to go. I can walk around, and you see the prosthesis is on. Throughout the day, I may need to add another one-ply stump sock as I continue to force more fluid out of my leg through daily activity. At this point, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to start my day. Hope you have a good day too.